Okay, it's 1:30. Let's begin the meeting. First things first, cell phones, silence them, please. And can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner David,
Present.
excuse me, Commissioner Stern,
Present.
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Vice Mayor Moore,
Present.
Mayor Hillman,
Present.
and Town Manager Labadie.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, if we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, today's meeting is obviously a special meeting, and the focus of the meeting is our priorities, many of which we have gotten a lot of work done on. So before we dig into it, we're in the area for public comments, and I believe the first is a Michael Simoff, who is online.
He has him speak on, he has himself muted and the camera's on.
Okay, well, while you work that out, I know Maggie wanted to say a few things, so we'll turn it over to her first.
Green light.
Oh, there it is. Hi, I'm Maggie Chapelier. I have been a resident of Highland Beach since 1985. I'm currently a member of the Natural Resources Board. So I've enjoyed working with the commission and I want to thank you for your hard work. You're having a meeting about the strategic planning process, and I wanted to give you a little input about some of the people that I've talked to in my neighborhood and other people I've been contacted by. I have been in touch with some representatives in Tallahassee regarding to let them know that the citizens, some of the citizens of Highland Beach want to be heard about their concerns about the new reserve requirement for the high-rise condos. Once they have that 30-year certification and the follow-ups, they want to be able to decide what their reserves should be like it's been all these years. And they want to be able to decide what percentage of the life of whatever the asset is, the asset that's being replaced, what special assessments or what the reserve should be. So I think that that would be a very important issue to the people in the high-rise condos that are affected by this law. And I'm going to continue putting pressure on whoever I have to get an answer. And I'm hoping that the town commission will also reach out to their contacts to make this happen, because the law right now is very draconian, and if you ask me. The other thing is the firehouse. I've been looking at the plans and the conceptual plans, waiting to see the architectural drawings. And I believe that that should be, as you have it right now, the number one concern in your strategic planning. And you can control cost overruns if your architectural plans are very concise and precise. Change orders will cost the town a lot of money. So I'm just saying that as someone who has been in the real estate development business since 1981. I met with your finance director to understand the budget and the funds and all that. And he gave me a great education. So I don't have a problem with the budget or anything like that. I will continue to put pressure on the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, as I have in the past, to slow the boat traffic wakes. Now, I know that it's 25-35, but it should be more about the wakes. Now, we know that a few people have died and we've had accidents happen on the ICW. And I was instrumental in helping make people aware of what was going on the intercoastal before we had all these accidents and deaths. I told the FWC that somebody was going to die and therefore it happened. And one last thing, please. We're having a meeting on March 1st, a seminar at the town library through the Natural Resources Board. We got the Palm Beach County people are going to be there to assist residents on beach dune restoration. And it's going to be very educational and helpful to all the citizens of Highland Beach. I'm Maggie Chapelier, and thank you for
Maggie.
your time.
We don't, by practice, respond to whomever is up there and makes comments. But I want to go off of protocol for a second. The commission agrees with everything you've said, and that is what we are working towards. Okay. Did you get Michael?
Mr. Simoff, please unmute your mic.
Okay,
You're on for public comments.
well, I have no public comment at this time.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. You will be placed in the waiting room.
Okay, let's continue. Now let's move into the meat of the meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't see him.
Yeah, Tim Rotolo, 3400 Ocean Boulevard. And just a couple quick things that I sit in on some other municipalities meetings, and a lot of them estimate the time that each agenda item takes, so people have an idea how long they can expect to be in the meetings. I was hoping you might consider adding that, not just to your commission meeting, but maybe all the other meetings that you. And the other thing is, I spend a lot of time on the shared recreation path here, riding my bike and walking. And there's a lot of conflict that happens out there, particularly when I'm riding my bike. I have horns and bells and a voice that I use in compliance with the Florida statutes to let people know I'm coming. They don't hear me, or they just want to tell me to get out in the road where I should be, things like that. And so sometimes I have to go to the police over the things that they say. I try to educate these people that it's a shared path and.
Excuse me. Are you suggesting we make that one of our priorities? So do you want us to put it on the list?
Well, one of the items I'd like to suggest is possibly drawing a line down the center of the path. I don't know if that might help, but it's. Yes.
They still got to know you're there. That's the big issue. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on. Just for a little bit of background, strategic priority planning was begun 3 years ago, I think it was. And obviously everybody knows what the goal is of setting priorities on the staff's time, work, etc. And fortunately, we have a pretty good understanding of which things are ongoing, which things are actually new subjects. And we want to make sure that the staff, led by Marshall, of course, is spending their time working on the items that the commission feels are important, because that's our responsibility. So that's the goal here. And some of it is things that will take a couple of years to accomplish. Some can be done very quickly. And what we have to do is rate them and merge them. Okay. Now, Marshall has put this together very nicely for us. If we go over to page 7. Page 7 starts the list of items that have been commenced. My suggestion would be the first 2 things we do is if there's anything on here that they're working on that we think should be eliminated, stop the work, for that. We need to identify that. I think the other thing we have to do is there are a number of these things that just go together as one main subject. Example, number 1, number 6. Fire Rescue Department and the Veterans Memorial. Veterans Memorial will be part of the structure somehow. So to me, that's one subject. So with that said, John, you want to start with what can be eliminated? Let's just get that out of the way first.
So we're almost finished with the program for signs, but we're still going to go forward with figuring out signs.
Yeah.
So I don't see that ending anytime soon. I go down the rest of it, honestly. You know, I don't see anything to change,
Okay,
to delete.
to delete. That's all we're focused on right now. Evelyn, anything to delete?
No, I would leave it all there.
Okay,
No, not deleted, just changing the priorities.
absolutely. That's down the road. Do you have anything? to delete?
Agreed. Nothing to delete, but collapse some things perhaps.
that's the next subject.
And identify some as maybe lower priority.
Okay, I got a couple of deletes. On page 8, near the top, the charter review process and review the charter questions. I don't think that's something we need to spend time on. We all know the process for charter review. The next is community engagement process right under it. We've been working on that and doing that. To me, that's just an ongoing initiative, not something special that gets carved out. When we first started on it, then it was set as a high priority, but every day we have to be conscious of that. So I would just take it off the list. Anybody disagree?
Well,
Okay,
Can we go back to the charter review process? You want to drop that off completely?
drop it off the list, just cross it out.
And how does this relate to what Commissioner Stern was suggesting the last time? In terms of
What do you mean last time?
the 350,000, the limit?
Back up,
That raise it?
start me again. Oh, you mean
Commissioner
about
Stern.
charter? Well,
Yeah,
Commissioner Stern was suggesting that we take a look at the $350,000.
that's
No.
part of the charter though, right?
Well, it's in the charter. So the discussion was, what should the number be? And how do we communicate that to the population? And obviously a referendum thing, but it's not a full charter review.
Okay.
Unless
so
you disagree and you think
No,
we need to review the
It's
charter.
not a full, I'm just saying, maybe we qualify this as specifically on our spending limit.
Well, it's covered in there. As you go forward, you'll see the 350,000 spending limit is,
So
Is an
this is where they're combined.
yeah,
is
you
really
could say
what it
combined. I
is.
just say, I'm
Okay.
just looking to skinny this down a
Okay.
little bit.
I agree.
Okay,
Can I get clarification, please? When we talk about these issues, there were a number of things rejected. I'm not saying reviewing the whole charter, but there were a few things rejected on the last election. There are 1 or 2 things that I'd like to have on there to review as to see whether they ought to be reconsidered.
Absolutely.
Okay,
but it's not a full charter review.
no, it's not.
That's why I
That's
wanted.
correct. I agree with that.
I guess I didn't read it as a full charter review, and I think the point is that there will be some aspects that we will
Yeah.
put under charter, but not the full.
Okay,
Yeah, I almost wonder if that should be reworded, because I understood that item that was raised was basically to review the questions that had failed and whether or not we should put them forward again. And the way that it's worded, I can see why you're saying what you're saying, Mayor, charter review process, which is not really what I think that was.
but the questions.
Right,
we
review.
Felt were important. enough to
Right.
put them on there. We need to review that.
Right, and I don't know that that really falls anywhere.
Okay, well, why don't we just
Why don't we
circle?
Put it under the funding limitation, because that's one of those that failed.
That's a great idea. That way, so we'll take this thing out entirely and we'll add to funding limitation, commission review of the 350 threshold and
And the other.
the other questions.
And then
Perfect.
your comment about the community engagement process, I
Yep.
agree. We've done a lot. And I wonder, and I guess I was thinking that was also similar to on the prior page, develop a communication plan. I mean, I guess I thought those two things
thing.
were together.
Agree totally.
But yeah, I agree. We've done a lot with respect to that.
Okay, what number is it on? page
So on
seven?
on the prior page, it is,
Three. Yeah.
3.
See, I
yeah.
crossed that out also. I didn't get to that page. I eliminated that as well
Okay.
for the same
Because
reason that you're.
yeah, because it's almost now part of our process, right?
Exactly.
Right.
on.
It's already,
Okay, let's now go into combining. What I'm trying to do here is get this set up so we can then rank it.
Another question first, is there any consideration to anything that we want to add before we combine? Because I have two items.
Go
I
ahead.
want
What
to-
do you got? We're really not there because we're talking about,
I'll wait.
right now, we're on commenced items. But we're not on new items yet.
Fine,
Okay.
I'll wait for the appropriate.
Okay. Okay, just let me throw these out. Maybe we can move this along a little faster. I've taken number 1 and number 6, combine them. That's on page 7. That's the Veterans Memorial and the Fire Department. Anybody disagree? No. Okay. I took number 10 and number 14 and combined those. That's the FDOT project as well as the drainage flooding issues. Because to me, they just went together.
Absolutely.
I just saw one of my notes. I'm sorry, I missed it. Number 13, strategic budget process, that's ongoing also. And it's been done and it'll be continually updated. So I don't know that it's an item that we have to rank. If we weren't doing it, then we got to rank it to get it done. Okay,
and I thought that was an item to be collapsed. I don't know if you're getting to that next,
go ahead.
but since you mentioned.
Collapse it to what else?
Like, I guess I thought investment policy review, the 5-year capital improvement projects program. And then even under the planned section, which we're not there yet, maintain and refine the 5-year financial forecast model. I guess I thought that was a lot about our finances, our budgeting, our planning.
I agree with what you're saying. However, they are specific segments within it. And I'm afraid if we don't identify them, then it might disappear, might not happen. But yeah, it all sits in David's office and it's all finance. But I mean, we can combine them all if one wants to. Let's see how people rank them.
Okay.
And if we can collapse it, then it'll be easier.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, on page 8, I combined PVA, collective bargaining, and FOP, the last 2 items.
Is that
Um,
not part of our process, those 2 things? Are they?
Ongoing.
no, they're not ongoing. They're once every 3 years.
So they're
Yeah.
once every 3 years, but we do them. They're not something we have to be reminded of, right? Or to,
Yeah, we have to do it.
like, we have to do budget, we have to, I mean, that's what occurred across my mind when I read those 2. I don't know what you think, Marshall, if that should be a strategic initiative, or is that an ongoing thing that we might have to do?
An operational requirement.
Right.
It's an
right.
It's an operational requirement. It does take a significant amount of time, and it seems to be a larger collaborative effort between the commission, manager, staff, and then the unions, because it's so unique and takes 6 months that we kind of think it as a strategic priority because it consumes a lot of time. Whereas, the annual budget process takes a lot of time, but it's a statutory requirement. We got to do it every year, right? It's every 3 years. It's a little bit different. It has a series of additional exercises evaluating the marketplace, wage trends,
But when
brings
it's
the
done,
labor attorney in, things of that federal requirements on that. So it does require a little bit more than something you would do every year.
Yeah,
Oh,
but then
it's-
maybe
it's very tough.
in the 3rd year, when we're getting ready to renegotiate, you start the process in the beginning of the year, and 6 months in, you make it a high priority because it must be done.
Well, I mean, if we were doing a 5-year plan, which clearly not proposing, you would put it in right now because it's in front of us, then you would put it in again 3 years from now.
Yeah, no,
But there's a start and a stop.
right, so it should be done that 3rd year,
Yeah,
yes,
so right now we have begun the process. We've had
because it's,
a couple of meetings
this
already.
year.
and because it's coming up upon us. Okay,
So Marcia, when do you anticipate that coming off? Does it come off when we review it in 2024? Because
When does, this would come off
When
as soon
does-
as you ratify the contract.
When
So
it's
I'm
ratified.
hoping this summer.
This summer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so then it goes off.
yep, disappears.
It disappears.
and then it doesn't come out for 2 years.
3 years later.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody else have other things that can be combined?
I was thinking that because we don't have a human resources personnel department now, but we have to add one because of all the employees that we are adding with the fire department. So I would kind of make that a 1A and put it underneath that and combine it a little bit because we have to get that started. We need to have defined roles and we need to figure out exactly how many people we have to hire and in what positions, because we're creating departments that we don't have now.
I agree, makes sense. Falls right in there. Anybody disagree with that?
So you're keeping them together, but making one, and one.
Right, you're just
Subset.
taking number 17 and putting it up in number 1 on page 7.
As part of the fire.
As part of the
implementation.
fire, just like we're not saying here, go buy the truck, and we're not saying, finalize the plans for the structure. That's just all part of fire.
Okay.
I guess
Anybody have anything else?
The budget, the building recertification process, aren't we kind of almost done with that? Like, should that be
Um,
a strategic? initiative?
let me respond to that.
Okay.
I think there are 2 subjects. Our recertification program is done, is happening, going along very nicely. I read this as the state program. And that we got a lot of problems with. That's how I saw it. Therefore, I would rank it separately and pretty high, not ours. I don't know,
Yeah.
anybody else?
I would
saw it
just
that way?
continue on it that if, again, a lot of these are report backs and we're getting word that the legislator is going to revisit it this cycle. So if the state does make additional modifications, we may need to bring back our program to meet the qualification that the state sets for us, those minimum standards that we have to meet with our program. So
It starts-
and we're asking for that reserve, some relief, some change of scope of the reserve concept as it relates to
No, we want
the
to
state law.
eliminate it.
Yes, I'm using multiple types of words, so where we may end up, but yeah, somewhere in there, we're hoping for some modifications to that. I'm guessing from what I'm reading, the state's going to do something. I just don't know what. We don't know.
Nobody knows what.
We're asking for one thing, but other places may ask. So, yeah.
But back to this, that's why it's a different subject.
But we're kind of waiting to see what action
No, we're taking action to communicate to them.
Yeah, I'm going to take
what we
that to
see
the
as the
legislature in
whole.
March formally and
If-
knock on doors.
At the last meeting,
Yeah.
I was assigned a task of drafting the memo, which I've done, and Marshall has it, to give it to Peggy and to send it to Caruso and others.
Should we have an ongoing section of issues that we want to bring up to the legislature? Whether it's something like this or it's asking for funds for something, I mean, that's going to be an ongoing thing, I would imagine, if they pass things that we think should not be passed or don't pass things we think should be passed. We should have the ability and have some form of communicating with them on a regular basis.
But isn't that separate? The fact is, this is the building's recertification program as being defined by the state. That is a specific
Correct.
strategic
Yes.
priority for us to influence. Separate from that, there will be other tasks that we might have in communicating with Tallahassee what we feel are major concerns. Maybe we put those on here in a separate line item that says state issues.
right,
Or
so-
state priorities.
Maybe we're jumping now, but maybe we put it under planned as a new item. And it'd be communications with Tallahassee.
Right.
Okay.
And because we do have condominium homeowners association reserve studies
Right.
under planned,
Right.
and that's really part of that whole bill.
Right.
Yeah,
So is that
exactly.
separate from the building?
Right, so it shouldn't be, really be separate from recertification because it's part of that whole.
Should those be combined, collapsed into one?
Well, it's listed. 1, 2, 3, about the fourth one down. Where else is it? So we can collapse it.
That under
Plan.
planned, number 10
Oh.
under planned.
We're jumping ahead. We're not doing plans yet.
But it's
So let's
something
back
that
up.
collapsed.
But what I'm saying is, I don't know.
Yeah,
that
it
it
would
should
tie
be in
together.
two places. It
It's
should be
here
in one
because
place.
it's already started. We've already
Yep.
begun working. on it.
Yep, we're gonna tie those
So
together.
it's- yeah, so we can actually take off number 10 if we
Yep.
want.
And maybe reword building recertification process
Yep.
to include reserve. Because that was not clear to me.
Yep, we're gonna retitle that
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, including reserves. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of work for us to do on it. You know,
Right. So it's
so-
kind of like keep on the radar.
keep it on the radar,
Right.
communicate wherever we can, but
Right.
it's not a major task, if you will, from a time standpoint. Okay, we're finished combining. Let's go.
Yeah.
Now, what we have to do is first identify where we stand on planned, and we have to sort those out. Then we have to merge those back with commenced. So first thing I'm gonna do is prioritize planned. What's the most important? What's the second most important? Or the fact that there's only 9 on here now, you don't even have to do that. Don't have to merge, just put the two together.
I have a question, Marshall. When does our garbage and recycling contract come up for renewal?
Right now, you will be
So-
going on the streets end of the week. Friday.
Okay, so that's should be
Doing it.
towards the top. I mean, it's commenced, but it definitely should be towards the top, I think. I mean, I don't know if it goes in planned or commenced or where we're gonna put it.
Well, we're gonna merge the two anyway, so it doesn't matter. There's only 9, so I don't know that we have to prioritize those 9 and then merge them. I think we, you know, if everybody's comfortable, just do them all at one time.
Yeah,
Okay, let me throw some suggestions out, see what hits. I had the collective bargaining as number 1, only because we have to do it. We're into it. If we don't do it, we can be stuck with huge costs because we wouldn't be prepared. I had number 2, fire rescue. And that includes 17. Anybody disagree so far?
17 and 6.
17 is included in number 1 now.
Yeah, and 1 is also including 6.
Excuse me.
1, 6 and 17.
Excuse me, the two items I have, I'd like to know if they're included in these things or the things have to be considered to be added, because if they have
Yeah.
to be added, they have to. be-
Glad you brought it up, please.
Okay, the first one is the lighting of the crosswalk surfaces. Now, initially, I understood that's part of the discussion with the redoing of the roadway. If in fact, is that a separate item? If that's not approved financially as part of the program, is that something that should be on our list that we want to do?
Or is it a
Let's-
task that we have, like a lot of other tasks that we do versus a strategic priority?
Well, let's just put it under
I put it with
engage in
the,
FDOT, including.
yep,
Okay,
And then the other
Wait a
item
minute, let me
I
get it
have,
down.
with-
one
the other
second.
item I have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay,
The other item I have, which is a longer term strategy, is the crosswalks. At some point, do they get repaired? Do they get replaced? What happens with the crosswalks long term? Strategically, how do we handle that? And that's a topic in itself.
it is a topic to itself, but we could identify any item that we have and put it on there. That should go under a maintenance issue, in my opinion. I
Because
don't
at
think
this
it's
point,
something
at this
on the
point, I
list.
assume we're just repairing as.
Right.
As they break,
And
yeah.
we're not looking out 5 or 10 years.
yeah, except for the lighting issue that we said we had to wait till they were redoing the road because we didn't want to do it and have them pull it up.
Okay,
I have another thing to potentially add and maybe
Please.
before we prioritize. So the canvassing board, right now, our charter says town clerk along with the supervisor of elections. And Linnell, to jump in if I say something incorrectly, but the supervisor of elections will not serve on our canvassing board, correct?
She's the substitute, but we have to be engaged on the municipal level.
Okay, so,
Really, just
Um,
operational.
so, well, this potentially could be a charter change. Right, Linelda, we were thinking that the supervisor, well, there's a couple of things. So when I first started on the canvassing board, it was not that onerous. It was like one meeting and then like the night, which was a late night, but it wasn't that bad. So the supervisor of elections has made some changes to her process. It's become much more onerous, and she will not sit in on some of those meetings, which she did that my first year. She would sit in and act as one of our, representing us in our canvassing, because a lot of times you only needed one member. So now she will not do that. She won't take on the responsibility of it and the liability of it or whatever. So it's become much more onerous. So this last time we found we were having to go up to Riviera Beach many times in order to meet just the minimum standard of, we could have gone up more times, really. We went just the minimum times, and it was a lot. It was really a lot. So I guess I would like to put that as an item for us to consider, which I think maybe the wording would be revisit the charter with respect to the canvassing board, because we do have another option and what other municipalities do, which is let the county serve as our canvassing board. And it sounds like, and maybe as part of the project, we could get a list, an inventory of who chooses the county and who doesn't. But it seems like that's something that is happening, is the municipalities are letting the county serve as the canvassing board. So that whole subject of who would serve as our canvassing board, whether or not we do it as a municipality or we let the county, and there's some things like you have to review signatures and decide whether or not, there's a bunch to it.
Right.
That I honestly didn't realize until going through it. And then it became much more onerous. And then there's also something that's kind of floating around about the liability that you incur by serving on the canvassing board. And if this project ends up being prioritizing and, what we do with it, I think maybe Glenn can help us understand, are we as commissioners who serve on the canvassing board, are we assuming some sort of liability, by serving in that capacity? So it's bigger than I think just an operational thing. So just to give you a little tidbit.
Can I ask for a definition here, just also for whoever's listening, they might say, canvassing boards, what are you talking about?
I was the same way.
It's really more of a ballot verification
Yes,
activity.
yes, and certifying election results. So yes, you're looking at signatures and signatures that are flagged that either weren't signed or signed in weird places that, there's a big red box you're supposed to sign in. Some of them they flag that they don't match the signature that you have on. And that's probably where you might be incurring some liability, because you're making judgment as to whether or not you should count that ballot and whether or not you think that signature really does represent the signature that they have on file. Exactly.
There lies the risk.
That's right. That's right. So
The change came about with Senate Bill 90. When they're referring to the county canvassing board. Now the canvassing board members are required to post their name on the website, and you have to state who your canvassing board members are. That is required by law. So what the changes came about with Senate Bill 90.
yeah, and I think that kicked off a bunch, and which is why the supervisor of elections changed the process and really tightened it up. And so, and she would not serve as our, which required us to go up there much more frequently. And it's just become much more onerous.
None of those meetings could be done on Zoom. You have to physically. be there.
No, that is a requirement. You are physically present.
Well,
Yeah, even through COVID, right? We were
Yes,
all
through
there.
COVID,
We had to wear masks.
Didn't some of the email that you sent say that some of the classes could be done?
There's a class that
Online?
we're required to take now, signature verification.
Right.
That is new. The canvassing board members are required to take that. So. we
But
can
didn't
go-
they
That's
say
online.
that could be
That's
online?
online, yes, that's.
okay,
online.
I got a suggestion. This is news to me and I sympathize then with anybody, any commissioner that ends up doing it because of all the meetings and all the time, et cetera. In terms of liability, I don't believe there's any, but we'll let council take a look at that. I would table this to next meeting. And I'd like a couple of things done. One, we want to check with Glenn and find out about liability. Clearly important. Second, Glenelda, can you update all of us on what the real process is now? Because what you're going through sounds to me like it's really onerous. I agree with you there. And what alternatives we have.
Okay.
And then we'll be more educated here to discuss it. Because if we just ignore it, we're going to keep at it and nobody's going to want to do it.
Well, I guess an issue is it's part of our charter, that if the charter says the town
We-
clerk, a commissioner or two serve on the
Yeah,
board.
I
And
understand.
so, yeah, so it's a charter ballot question.
So I'd like to have a better understanding of the subject so that we know what kind of change we want to make and what are the alternatives? Because that's how we want to change it to, or just take it out entirely. Maybe we don't even have it in the charter. Just vote to remove it. So let's learn more. Let's see what the options are. Let's get counsel in.
So you want us to bring an item back for the next meeting?
For the next meeting. And in terms of
Do you
priorities,
think that's a high priority? I mean, because we should prioritize that, right? And see
absolutely.
where it goes. I mean, it's fine with me if you make it high, but I don't know if it,
we'll
you know,
put it into planned and then we'll figure out
Right,
where it fits. But
right.
It's got to be done.
Yeah, it definitely has to be done.
One thing's for sure, Vice Mayor, you're a priority.
Okay, we started ranking, so I did the two easy ones, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Anybody want to suggest 3?
So
Oh, I
it
have a
might be
question.
easier to do what's lower. Maybe you want to tackle what's a lower priority, because we're looking at planned right now, right? And we're trying to decide how to prioritize planned.
Planned, no, and commenced.
Okay,
We said we're not going to try to just prioritize plan. There's only 9 on there
okay.
and then merge it. Let's just do the whole thing at one time. But I had one quick question. Under planned is implement the 2020 number 3. Can you expand on that, Marshall?
I'm sorry, could you,
Under planned number 3. Can you expand on what that is?
which is, there's some conflicts on the ordering. Let me
That's the
see.
flood maps.
I would just take that off. It's just gonna happen. And what you need to know is that base flood elevation is gonna elevate,
Right.
which is gonna trigger us. I think the building official might come back to you and say, this may have a bigger impact to seawalls than we initially thought by setting the seawall ordinance
Right.
to hit base flood. Now that you're at 7. So people can go to like 9, 7 is foot high. It's,
Okay. So
so
you're saying right now it's not, shouldn't even be on here.
I would
Okay.
take it off and then we might bring something back as it relates to seawalls. We might.
Okay.
But didn't we have seawall ordinance review, seawall elevation? So I would just cross that off and stay with the seawall elevation issue because it kind of ties to it a bit.
Makes sense.
So, yeah,
Okay.
combining them.
Yep.
So we're now searching for what is our third priority? You were going, Natasha, you were going to say something?
I was gonna say what were lower, because I think I could maybe more easily, I don't know, the town hall complex expansion. I guess I thought that was not something that need to be high up on the list, but
I agree. We don't need that. We're not dealing with that now. All right.
Scope.
How about state appropriations? If we don't start the process, we're not going to get any
Doesn't
grants.
say it. Didn't match.
That's on page 8. Halfway down under commenced.
you want to just slide that, slide that in as number 3 and then
Yep.
just keep going.
I'm
I think
suggesting
that's
that
fine.
because if we don't start it, it'll be
Right,
too late.
right,
Okay. We agree?
sure.
What's next?
What's 3?
State appropriations.
Okay.
Anybody want to jump in on what's next?
FDOT and drainage
When is,
combined.
Drainage, we
when is
combined
FDOT
with
starting?
FDOT.
Did they say?
Right when we hopefully get a C of O for the fire station, we shut down A1A. So I think it's going to be over the next 12 months. I think we're going to be spending a lot of time with FDOT. If we choose following the March 13th workshop, we may want to be more engaged, less engaged, may not like something that they're proposing. But I think we're going to be engaged with FDOT progressively more each month as we get towards the, spring, summer of 24.
But we don't,
Traffic control are going to want to talk to us, things of that.
we don't necessarily control the timing on that.
We can influence timing a little bit. There are federal dollars tied to it. We asked for them not to start it during season. And during the final leg of fire station construction, we asked, get us past May and then get going. You may be able to set up signs ahead of time, but let us conclude the heavy lift on the fire station before you shut the roads down and we're trying to deliver concrete, steel, things.
So,
But we have to be involved. We need a seat at the table.
Mhm.
And we've got to detail out how the drainage will be handled. Not just, okay, we're able to get their agreement, but we need the specifics on that. We need the specifics on how traffic is going to be handled. There's a bunch of different ideas that need to be explored. And I'm okay with that being the next
it's an
priority.
important priority.
Yeah,
It's
but-
going to affect everybody in the community.
And we do have a meeting coming up with them.
Right.
Is it-
March 13th. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. Make that next. So that's number 4.
Can you clarify the water tower lease option?
Yeah, what is that?
I had a question mark on that too. Marshall? Water tower.
So basically that's cell tower lease arrangements that we currently have with Sprint that expires in 25. There's been other firms requesting that we could sign deals with them and they could go solicit stuff, Do we want more cell towers on there? Do we want to go to a managed lease program? Do we want to talk about it? Is it important or do we just, because when is that coming? In February, the 7th, you're going to hear the proposal from Sprint. You may like it. You may not like it. You may not like the terms of the extension, this and that. So it's going to come back up because that term expires end of December of 24, December of 25. So we have a little bit of time, but we've had other firms say, hey, if you give us all of the rights for the next 100 years, we'll give you $1 million or something. Well, is that worth it? Do we want to give away our control for 100 years or for $1 million? I mean, that kind of stuff. So,
Aren't there two different options? One is an income option, the other is a service option to the residents of the town based upon what they're using it for. So
there could be, those are things we should probably discuss because it hasn't, the lease agreement's been in place since what, like 2091. So no one's really talked about it. How important is it? We could just do it as a one-off, but I thought, if firms are asking for rights, cellular technology, 5G, I think that tower is going to be valuable. So maybe we put our heads together in some type of thing over the next 12 months as to what do we want to do? Where do we want to go with it?
There are basically 2 approaches. One is we have somebody represent us and they go out and they try to basically sell the space, or we do it ourselves. The question that I would ask is like, how many potentials are there? If there's 3 or 4, then we'll do it ourselves. If there's 40, we'll let somebody else do it and pay in their commission. I went through this with our building several years ago, and it was AT&T. And we finally struck a deal. They applied for permits and then they withdrew after we did all the work and all the negotiations. Some change in management, change their mind. That happens. So I think that's part of the discussion.
And there's some planning elements to it because I don't know what these facilities look like, but
Well, that's what I was going to mention. Is
do we want condos covered in cell tower equipment? Maybe not. Maybe visually we don't want that as a collective. Maybe we don't care. Maybe we stay out of it. That's why it's a strategic plan. Like it seems to be surfacing and growing in the manager's office. I'm bringing it to you guys. How do you want to handle it? What do you want me to do? That kind of
Okay.
thing. So it becomes a strategic priority in some case. I don't know how high up the chain it is, but
Understood.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, if this lease is coming up, doesn't it put pressure on us to move forward on this thing?
Well, they'll tell you that there's all sorts of pressure, but the lease goes till 2025.
Yeah,
And
we're not-
we got a couple of
we're in no
years,
rush.
excitable as they are, they want to get us
Yeah.
early to get a better deal. I don't know. So I would like to share and talk at your philosophy thoughts so I can communicate that properly to these companies.
Well, then my opinion is it should be on the list, but not on the top of the list.
Sure.
But there is, I just want to also clarify, besides money and the improvement in service for whatever, like AT&T is a mess, but aesthetics. Do we want our water tower having all these crazy antennas coming off that some people might not like that?
Okay, so I think we all understand it, but now which is the fifth priority? Is that high?
That is
I don't
not
think
that
it's,
high
I
to
don't
me.
think it's that high. So what do you think is the next most important thing? Anybody can jump in.
I don't know if this is I like starting from the bottom, sorry. So survey water bodies Bellito, is that,
I crossed it off.
okay, we crossed that off?
Yeah,
Okay, that's fine.
Unless I miss bringing it up, but I
I
crossed it off.
crossed it off, meaning it's no longer a high
And I
priority.
have to tell you,
No,
I
it
don't, the
doesn't
one
exist.
under it, I don't know why we have that on there, because I think the state
Okay.
law went into place, but I don't think it's become an issue. It's if we want to imply,
Talking about
do
the
we want to
home-based
regulate home
businesses?
businesses, but we can't be, we could be more strict than the state, but not less, and the state pretty much gives you carte blanche.
Okay, so are you suggesting we
Cross it.
remove it?
I'm good.
Yeah,
I agree. Anybody disagree? Okay, it's off the list.
So how about zoning?
Pardon?
Big issue is the next one,
Yeah, what's number 5?
the zoning district.
Zoning?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
the suggestion is zoning would be the 5th priority. Anybody see anything that they believe should be on our list before zoning?
Well, I'd like a little explanation on the maintain and refine 5-year financial forecast model.
Well, that says plan, that's well past commenced, so we can put it at a priority high, so we can feel really
It's
good, and
done.
check it off. Relatively soon.
That's giving them too many points.
I know, David's got it complete, doing some final tests on it, but it could be rolled out here this spring as part of the early preliminary stages of budgeting. I think it'd be a good time to roll it out to the
Perfect.
commission.
Uh,
So you can put it
just-
really high because we can check it off.
Just so everybody knows, David presented it at our planning meeting for union negotiations. Because what we needed to know is if we did A, what effect is that on our finances and what effect does that have on the mill rate? So David did a great job, worked all the way down to the mill rate. And instead of thinking about, okay, we're going to approve a 6% change in the step plan, we wanted to monetize it. So that we knew how much money we were talking about as well. So it's basically done with whatever
So
adjustment.
the commission, you guys are going to see it very soon because of the negotiations and the starting a budget here in the next couple of months. So
And that just becomes an ongoing process.
that becomes
Okay,
fine,
so
right? So we
I'm-
check that off.
I'm trying to bring us, check it off. I'm trying to bring us back to anybody think there's anything on the list that's more important than zoning?
See, we're looking at the okay, we're more important than zoning. Where did we put the charter questions that failed?
We didn't rank it yet.
Maybe 6.
And did we, and we're talking about, the questions that failed, we're including the funding limit, correct?
Yes, that's in the
And we
list.
haven't prioritized funding limit.
Nope.
I think that needs to be pretty high. I've kind of lost track of, so one was the collective bargaining, sorry, Mayor, can we just review? And one was collective
Okay.
bargaining, right?
2 was fire rescue plus the
Right.
defined human resources. That
Okay.
was combined as number
Okay.
2.
What's 3? What is it?
What is
So I think failed charter.
State
questions,
appropriations is correct.
Fire charter, in my opinion, I think that needs to be moved up to like number 3. The funding limit, funding limit is
I disagree.
is extremely urgent,
Yeah, but we can't do anything about it until the next referendum.
but we have to lay the groundwork. I mean, there's already rumblings of
The time that the vote would be is what, 18 months from now?
it
There is
is-
there's nothing to do today or tomorrow.
No, but there's a lot of-
next
there's
6 months.
already, the opposition is already laying groundwork against.
Yeah, what,
Right.
saying they're not going to
We've got
invest
to-
in long-term projects? That's pretty dangerous.
I know,
Right.
so that's why we need, in my opinion,
What-
So my vote would
What
be,
work would you do in the next 6
would be
months?
laying the groundwork.
And what does that,
for-
what does that mean?
I think it's something that we really need to take seriously and flesh out, like almost like the time frame of the marine accessories, how long that's all taken. Like getting, I don't know, I think getting the community together and let's hash this out so that when it does come time, because we have to be silent, right? Once the ballot
Right.
questions are done, we have to be completely silent.
Even before they're done.
So, right, so that's why I think this year in advance, like we have to get, I don't know, my vision is we have a whole plan of, okay, let's us talk about what we think. Let's get the community in the room together and let's figure out what their problem is with it. And let's come to some sort of agreement so that by the time we set up the ballot question, it's a rubber stamp because we've worked through all
I
that.
totally agree with you. I just think 18 months is premature to start the process. That's all.
I'm already seeing opposition about the.
I read the same thing you read.
Right,
So
so,
what?
so they're starting. Why don't we start? And why don't we get together and
We're-
come to a.
What I'm saying, if we had a forum set up, we brought them town in and whatnot, and we talked about it today, nothing can be done for 18 months.
Well, is that the case? Is 18 months?
Yeah, what is the
Yeah.
timeline?
An
It isn't.
alternative to a special,
Unless we request a special,
that's.
gonna cost us $60,000
Insanity.
and she can say yes or no.
She won't do. There's no November of 23 special, so you're gonna be waiting till March of 24.
Which is
About
a
15
year and
months,
3
16.
months away. And you have to submit the final ballot questions by December of 23.
Right.
And so now we're less than 12 months away from getting the community on, and we already know we have a mountain to climb over to get this done. That's what it looks like to
You
me.
can-
It
you-
looks like an.
You
Mount
convinced me.
Everest.
I'm on board.
We have less than 12 months to get this done and we're not even,
You convinced, me.
okay.
So
Does
that
anybody
goes,
disagree?
Absolutely right.
No?
I think that
Okay.
needs to be number 3.
No, I don't think it's number 3, but I think it's number 4 or 5. What's gonna happen here is the top 6 or 7 or 8 things they're gonna be working on.
Right, we're like
Yeah, so
full force ahead.
we can debate whether it's 3 or 4 or 3 or 7, 6, gonna be worked on. Okay, see, I see state appropriations
So-
have to be done now.
Yeah, that's the time.
If you wait on state appropriations, forget it, you're not gonna get any money. That's why I had that as number 3.
So I guess you're saying the top 6, whether something's number 6 or number 3 is the same.
it's almost like
It's gonna
grouping,
be-
if you
Yeah,
will.
maybe we-
6 or 30 makes a huge, 30 is not gonna get touched.
So let's,
the
yeah,
top-
so let's talk about what is high.
The real drive
Yeah.
is the top 10.
Yeah, so
And that's
let's,
what we're doing. What'll happen is once we get, I'm making up the number 10, but once we get to a point, we're not gonna care what the rest of them are.
right. Yeah, I like the high, medium, low grouping, something like that.
So
Um,
just to let you kind of foreshadowing, once we get through all this, I see a lot of things I need to do on the administrative side of
Yeah,
organizing your
explain it.
thoughts. So I got to do a little better job here. So my team will get back together, clean this up when you get done and we can, the next go around, we'll be able to really medium, high, low, we could kind of
Yeah.
score then rank the groupings a little bit.
And we won't need a special meeting for that. We can just add it on the agenda.
After today, I should be able to get them in the order-ish. Then we tweak it a little bit, a couple
and
times.
maybe like a soft line, like the ones above the line are the ones we're like full speed ahead or something, what we call high or something. Cause I think that is something that we need to get started.
You got it. Done.
These-
Stop selling you, you'll lose it. This
these-
is something that all salespeople know.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is once you get the order,
Cut.
cut it out and leave. Just because you can talk yourself out of it.
Okay,
So before we talked about charter, we had gotten to 4. Are we pushing everything back and adding charter in, or charter hits 5 and we're okay with the
Charter gets 5.
and we're okay because it's in that top 8, 10 that's going to be worked
It's
on.
above the line that's. full
Yes,
speed.
definitely.
Okay, so we'll go to 5 with that. That
I
sounds
just want to
great.
clarify, when we say charter, we're dealing with all of the 4 issues,
Yes,
Correct.
not just the one issue.
No, the whole-
Okay.
The whole,
I think funding limitation will lead the charge, but it'll also engage the conversation on what else we need to look at.
Yeah, everything that failed.
Because I might have some capital projects I need to throw at you that require.
okay, what's the next most important?
Well,
Sure.
what I had,
Could I put trash in there? Because if we don't have a contract in place by May, no one gets trash service.
Okay,
That's fine.
no problem.
And it's already be on the street, so it's fully commenced.
And
The deadline again on that contract is when?
May,
May of this year, it's gonna turn over. So we are going out to bid. We'll be out for 4 weeks-ish. 30 days, bring it in. We have an internal evaluation committee, look at it, and then we'll bring you the proposals. You're probably looking at, 2 to maybe 4 companies, probably 2 companies will probably bid on it. That's what looks like Delray. Yeah, Delray's only got 2 bidding on their contract.
Okay. That's done. So that's number 7. There's a few things that we need to kind of prioritize. Marine accessory. We've had all the meetings and gotten all the input. So we're getting close to decision point on it.
yes, we
So,
have to do something.
I think we look at that as a possible next one. And then also where is it? Building recertification process. They're separate, but which is more important of the 2? I'm suggesting they be the next 2.
So 7 and 8, we're talking those 2 projects. Everybody agreeing to 7, 8, 8, 7, 7, 8, 8, 7,
Are
whatever.
we okay with that?
I mean, I'm fine with that, but we're kind of on a wait, we're in like a wait and see pattern with the building recertification, correct? I mean, you have your letter that's already drafted.
That's step 1. We have to decide, are there other things we should be doing? But yeah, I don't think there's a lot of work left to do. I agree with you on that.
What about communication plan?
We scratched it.
We did? I thought we just did community engagement. We scratched because it was kind of clued.
To me, that's included. I mean, we're doing all of that. We talked about bringing in an agency to help us with it. But then, like I was saying, I think I was one that said that I don't think there's another town that communicates as much as we do. Question is the quality of the communications, and that's being worked on, and the new website is being worked on, which is part of it. And, more of the food truck events, et cetera.
Have we looked into GoGov regarding notifications to our homeowners? Lane closings or road closings and things like that, because they sent us an email and I know everybody got it, but it just sounded like maybe some of those things should be addressed. That maybe we need a better,
Well, what we need is,
Spot
we need more email
notification.
addresses. Because what do we have now? What's enough?
We're gonna send out lane closures, if there's a gas leak or something like that, we use code red for that.
Right.
I think GoGo was more of a text message system.
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to start again, because people that are watching or will watch
Well,
didn't
it's
hear
just
you.
coming up. Why couldn't we also combine that with the website content management and communication?
Probably could.
Mhm.
Okay, what were you saying?
Teresa Cuevas, Town Manager's Office. So right now we use Code Red to send out any emergency notifications. So if A1A is closed for a gas main leak or something to that nature, we'll use Code Red.
Okay. Is there a separate email list for people on the Code Red notification as opposed to the towns?
Yes, our Code Red subscribers list is about 4,000. Pretty much everyone, every resident signs up for Code Red. And we only use that for emergencies. So then we use our email notification list for general information.
Well, I would make sure that everyone on the email list, in fact, is on the
So we can't
the
get,
Code Red.
we can't get the Code Red information. It's proprietary to Code Red. So we've asked them for their list and they won't give it to us. People independently sign up for that and it goes into their bank for emergency
You
notification.
just answered the question I was gonna ask.
Is
We've
that,
asked for it.
Merge them.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've asked
that-
for it.
It's a privacy issue.
It is.
No.
And GoGov is more of an email, text message notification. So any of our general information alerts we want to send out, we could send it out through text message. I don't know if that's something the community wants to do, but we can definitely look into it if the commission wants to.
The challenge is, if I may, the only way to make sure that every resident is notified is direct mail. And even with that, many of them don't even read it, just throw it out. In direct mail, what does it cost us each time we do a mail piece?
$3,800.
Yeah, it's a lot.
$3,800.
It's a ton of
So
money.
that's why we need to work on expanding our email. Do you know off the top of your head how many are on the email list now?
We're probably getting close to 2,000 if we haven't broke that threshold just yet.
You got to remember, team, when we started, we had 450.
Mhm.
Okay, so in 3 years, less than 3 years, we've gone from 450 to 2,000. But we're probably peaking on whatever we've done. So we need to get creative to come up with other ways to get more people. That's all.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we need to figure out how we can get people who are on the code red notification on our regular notification.
yes,
And during food truck events, that's what we kind of push code red sign up as well as sign up for your email list at the same time. But since I've gotten here in 2017, the code red list has been stable and it's been at about 4,000.
that's every household.
Yes,
So we don't need to push that anymore.
correct.
Let's just push email.
Understood.
Okay,
Will do.
okay, so we're back on.
So does that need to be an initiative? Yeah, because I kind of agree with Commissioner Shoemaker. So there's also the website
Website.
content management. That seems like that could be collapsed with
Yep.
communication plan. It's number 5 on the
Website.
page 7. The current number 3, current number 5. And then on the next page, community engagement process. I wonder if those are all really just.
Yeah.
Same thing.
I agree. They
I
can all
totally
be
agree.
combined.
It's a
does it-
combined tool.
Yeah, because in order to increase our communication, we need to get the website
Right.
in user-friendly condition.
You know, everything has to be in sync.
So
Right.
No,
that's
I'm,
gotta be
good idea. Let's
connected.
put all three together.
Got it.
And
Now, the question is, where do we rank it? Is that the next most important? Or is
Probably.
zoning more
I think it's-
important? Middle, okay.
I mean, it's already it's well in process. I see it as middle because you've made.
It's
so
gonna
much
be,
progress.
like they said, it's 9 months to complete it. We've started it, so, there'll be some decisions, but
Okay,
the delivery will be, Q3 kind of thing.
and I agree with you.
One of the heavy
in the
lifting,
middle.
you know, So,
Okay, let me go back to the next one. Marine accessories, we're almost there. I would suggest we rank it high and finish it.
Mhm.
Okay,
So 6.
so that's 6. Is that 6 or 7? 7.
I've got
I
to
think it's
6. I need 7, 8, and 9 is what we're talking about now, right? Because we've got,
where'd you put communication stuff?
we haven't
You haven't.
touched that yet, because we were talking about it.
Okay.
I've got building certification reserves. Was that going to be 7? And then 8 was going to be marine accessories.
Right.
And then website 9,
Wait a minute, what did you do with zoning?
zoning,
We
we
haven't
haven't touched
touched it
it, so we
yet.
gotta figure to squeeze that
I
in.
haven't touched it.
We haven't started it really either. We're gonna
Right.
take it
Just
to
doing
the
some
planning
research.
commission here in the next couple of months to frame up how do we want to process this in the community? What I mean by that, workshops, how do we want to engage the public? So that's gonna be a 12 to 18-month process.
Yeah, I think we need to start it, but I don't know on the priority list that it needs to be that high because it's going to take a long time to accomplish once we get it started.
We're talking zoning, right? That's what-
Yes,
I agree. I think it's a lower priority. We already have a zoning in place. It's not like we have to.
But
There's
it's
an
totally
emergency.
inadequate.
Yeah.
Totally
I'm
out
not
there.
of that opinion. I'm not of that opinion.
Like you wouldn't let this guy that came in here that has 3 townhomes, replace them with 3 more townhomes? You'd make him put a single family house in there.
I
Okay, so-
would like to get more community input on it. I would like to do, and I don't think it's urgent. Yeah, no, I don't think it's urgent.
well, I think it
We
is.
Gotta have forums on this, gotta find out, what
Yeah,
they
I-
think about it. It's a big deal.
It is,
I
it is a
don't
big
think-
deal. It is a
I don't
major
think the
change.
completion of it is urgent, but I think the starting of it is. Because we do have a number of buildings that are older. And I think we have a problem with some of the smaller buildings on the side streets that we're encouraging people to redo. We're encouraging people to build higher. And yet you're telling them that you're devaluing their property.
Yeah.
So
restore.
I'll bring data to show it's not devaluing. And we
Number
have
10
had,
Is number 10 acceptable?
Just,
it's, but I don't think it needs to be very high on the list.
when you look at, what would you put in next?
Well, where did we put sea turtle lighting? I mean, I thought that was
We didn't do that yet.
a really
It's there, but
important
we
thing.
didn't rank it.
And then we got the sanitary sewer lateral project.
But anything about that? What is the status of our sewers?
So the,
They're not in
flowing.
good shape.
they need some work. We can't do all of the work. So right now we're looking at anything that would be influenced by the A1A project by FDOT. Because the laterals are the crossovers to the oceanfront properties. We want to make sure those are clear, clean. If they need to be replaced before we get a brand new road. Because if we don't, every time it goes bad, we got to tear the road out. So that is on the streets. In 2 weeks, we'll have a response to see if it's something we can afford and it's doable. Otherwise, we go ask the residents for something because
Okay.
funding limitations,
So I think
which
that's
is number
It's important.
5.
I think, but so what, and where did we land with all the budget stuff? The investment policy review, our, and the
Haven't
other,
ranked that yet.
I think that's pretty high. I think that's really
Hey.
important.
Do you think that's more important than things like intercoastal waterway or
Yes, I do.
what do we leave out?
Temporary signs, seawalls,
Temporary
leaf
signs.
blowers, cell tower leases.
Beach erosion study, update beach erosion. See, a lot of these
That
things are
I think
quickies.
is kind of important, the beach erosion study.
Let me just expand on that for a second. If we ranked it high, all he has to do is buy it. He's got a contract for the study. Not a big time consumer.
Yeah.
You're not agreeing? Am I wrong?
Whatever you tell me to do.
No,
I'm
no,
gonna
no.
do it. I'm gonna do it quickly.
Now, look,
but,
you're part of the
um,
team. I don't see that as
It's
something,
not burning as
not gonna-
much.
not gonna take a lot of management time.
Well, I don't know that the building recertification and reserve thing, like, I don't think that's gonna take a lot, or state appropriations, that's a lobbyist that does that for us, right?
Well, we
That
don't have.
doesn't-
We don't
lobbyists.
have a lobbyist.
Oh, what happened to our lobbyists? We didn't renew the contract?
We have to decide if we need one or not.
Oh, okay.
So basically, I'm gonna be your interim lobbyist and run up there, and luckily we got Peggy, who's high energy, knocking on doors too
Yep.
up there. But again, it's something that, it didn't render us anything for the dollars. So is it worth it, or is it better for us to work through? Right now, we have a legislator, which is probably more valuable than a lobbyist. So, we're kind of looking at that.
Okay, I'll just tell you a few things we haven't ranked. Intracoastal waterways,
I think that's.
whether we want to participate in the no wake zone or not, and the speeding, et cetera, et cetera. 5-year financial forecast model, that's done, so we don't need to rank that. Update beach erosion, we just talked about. Public record digitization, we're doing it. Milani Park, we haven't ranked. Sea turtle lighting, we haven't ranked. Town entry signs. That's about it.
So I'm to 9.
So we're looking for 9, right?
I put 9 as, I went ahead, was a little aggressive with some of your comments and put the website content management and communication thing.
As
at
number
9.
Okay, anybody disagree with that?
Yeah.
No, okay,
I think that's-
So that takes us to 10.
yeah, what's the
I think
next
the
most
beach
important?
erosion is important,
Which one?
the beach erosion doing management.
Very
is
important.
Pretty important.
I would
Sea
agree
lighting.
on that one.
standards.
for both reasons. One, it's important, and 2, it's not something that's going to take
Quick hit.
management, 6 months.
Quick hitter, yeah.
And then we can give that information over to the resources board. Yeah. Done.
Does that include seawall?
No, totally different subject. Yeah, that we haven't dealt with either. I missed that one. Thank you.
That'll take a little bit of time. See, no, seawall will take
Seawall.
You can
and-
fix it quickly, but I don't know if they will agree quickly. You know what I mean? But
How about the sea turtle lighting? Isn't
that's
that
gonna
kind of-
happen here in the spring, early summer, before turtle season. It's supposed to go to natural resources. They give it a thumbs up. It's back to you for first read.
isn't
So
that
it's
kind of-
moving.
So that's,
It's gonna be quick. It's gonna happen soon.
sure, let's throw it in because it'll be done with.
Okay, so 10, sea turtle lighting. And then beach erosion's 11. It takes a little bit longer.
Zoning
Then it might be time for zoning.
Yeah,
12.
12 for zoning.
I'm not giving up on zoning.
Then maybe entry signs, because that's coming up here February and we have to start designing it.
Yeah, that to me is like underway. That's,
We still gotta rank it. How much, you know, if I have 15 things on my desk, am I gonna touch it or am I gonna wait till next week to touch it? Think of it that way.
we
Stick
have a
to-
time, so what, how, yeah, so we have a timeline. So how does that fall into this? We have a very, all the.
Once you're gonna
signs-
make a choice, then I gotta get an architect in, do renderings,
That's lower.
plans,
That's
design.
Science, it's not like they're gonna
Right.
crumble. To me, that's lower.
Okay,
And if that doesn't get done right away. I don't-
so we're now looking at a 13 project. Or if you're superstitious, we skip 13 and go to 14.
Love it. I love
You
it.
tell me.
Doesn't matter what your number and we can count, it's the same.
Okay, we haven't ranked gas leaf blower
Yeah, what's left?
regulations.
So
I mean, there's a whole bunch of financial stuff we can kind of group.
That's all. good.
Yes, I think
We
we
said, let's group them all under one. I
That's
think
what I'm
Natasha was
thinking.
suggesting
kind of just doing, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna do,
all the financials.
you want to group it as to one, like a financial systems improvement type thing and
Yeah.
group all
All
that,
one subject.
all one subject, and that will be,
Then underneath that, you got the bullets of what they.
Yeah.
so we'll call that lucky number 13, David.
Hey, I love it.
And that's gonna be investment policy review, maintain, or to basically roll out the 5-year financial forecast model and strategic budget process, which is that layout that we've gone over. David's got some pretty cool layout for the new budget. So we tie all that together at one project.
Would you
Okay.
add the whole concept of record digitization?
That's totally, that's clerk's office, just every record.
I don't even
whatever.
think that should be on there
Finance,
because
okay.
she's already done 75,000 of it. And it's ongoing
Mhm.
and
So
daily. activity.
13.
You might laugh at me. Well, why not?
And
Temporary sign ordinance. Every time I drive up and down the street, I get annoyed with all the different signs, the size of the different signs. Most of them are for sale signs. I see a smile over here. If you go further up north, you'll see some of the towns, all the signs are the same. They all look the same. It's just more uniform. I think it's a more upscale look and more fitting for our town. So, but what we would have to do in terms of time is we'd have to ask for the research to be done on what do we want these signs to look like? What do others look like? Then we have to make a decision.
So for my-
Want to get input from the town, from residents. And then get it done.
so for my reelection, I'd like to have 20-foot square.
All in favor?
Unwound, right? Because at one time, we had a more restrictive sign ordinance, right? And then it really.
It's coming to you guys at the next, your 7th meeting, staff. We struggle with temporary signs as it relates to campaigns. We currently say you can't put it in the public right of way. Everybody conveniently forgets what the size of the public right of way is for
Right.
February and March every year. They forget what that is, and that's 50 feet from the center out. There's nowhere to put signs at all. Is that acceptable? Because eventually we're like, well, if you just push them all the way out, we'll live with it in a couple of feet. Some places the road kind of meanders.
Okay, so that's part of the temporary signs.
We got to get our arms around that. So it's not like making exceptions. Well, you
Right.
say that and then
Let's.
town put these signs out, but we're allowed to put out government
All right, so what's
signs.
our next number? Who's keeping score? That's 14.
Want to do 14? Okay.
The other
then
things that are
seawall.
big are
Did we put seawall anywhere yet?
seawall. That's what
Do that
I'm looking
next.
to.
I'm
I have
in
no
it.
problem with that.
Seawall's 15. Is
Did
that what
we
I heard?
rank zoning in? Yeah,
Yes, zoning's already in.
okay.
Um,
Honestly,
I think that's about
I'm
it.
done.
Yeah, by then it's.
The rest aren't gonna matter. Right?
Right.
16 for
Let's go.
town entry signs, since we're going on it.
Sure.
Sure.
16 for that. Capital improvement, I'll tie that into number 13. That's everything finance,
That's. under
update
finance.
related improvement, systems and reporting improvement. Sanitary sewer, let's make that lucky
Oh,
number
we didn't rank that?
17.
Ooh, wait a minute.
So-
time out.
But again, when it comes in, we'll be able to determine right away if it's something we want to do. And I'll communicate why.
Oh,
From
this-
funding limitation, and there's a whole bunch of other weird pieces that tie into the sewer project cost, number of bidders. We haven't been soliciting a lot of bidders to do work. There might be two, maybe there's one. I don't know that that's a competitive environment, so we got some things we gotta.
Let's back up. Is it true that our pipes, because of their age and because of the environment they're in, et cetera, need work? We haven't defined exactly what that work is yet. It's probably lining. We haven't decided how many feet of it has to be done.
Most of it.
Most of it has to be done. So I think we have it misranked. What we don't want to happen is to shut the town down because,
Yeah.
and if anybody has learned anything, preventive maintenance is way better than emergency maintenance.
Correct.
I would suggest we find someplace much higher in the top 10
Okay.
for sure.
So we'll just move everything around, and
Yeah, I agree with top 10, somewhere in the top 10 and shift
Yep.
everything down.
You can find it.
okay, top 10. Okay, I'll just put top 10 and we'll adjust accordingly. We shift things around, so that was gonna be, so 17 becomes, now we need like 18. 18, now where do we want to go with 18?
What do we have left?
I thought we were using federal money to do that. And we had already started that process a little bit.
Yeah, but the quotes came in way higher.
We had that and it's way more than that. And there's some other things we've potentially programmed some of those dollars for. So we got to see what that lateral project amount is. And then I have to talk to each of you or add on certain things and kind of go that way. But I just got to see what the numbers are, but the numbers just continue just.
Anything of significance that we left off?
I would say Milani Park. So make that the next one.
Sure.
It's always important topic.
Well, it's important, and yet if the county isn't moving on it,
Well, we continue
Well-
to speak with them. I just can't get committals one way or another. Do they want to do it? What do they want to do? If they do it,
It's fine.
are they going to start now? Or are they starting 5 years from
I
now?
had a phone call today at 10 after 1.
Oh, wow.
That was the subject of the phone call. So it's ongoing. I have nothing to report. But it's an ongoing discussion. We met with Marcy, I guess about a month ago now. We'll schedule a follow-up meeting. It's an ongoing thing. So I don't know that it matters where it's ranked. It kind of has a calendar of its own. Okay.
And there's not much for us to do right now, except for
Not,
keep it
not
on
for
the
the
radar.
commission, really from Marshall and I.
Okay,
And we'll just keep reporting back then.
okay.
don't they have a deadline for
Yeah, I think it's like
utilizing
24.
the
24,
the
they got to
next
tell us if they're
5-year
going to exercise.
They got one more 5-year option.
They've got one more 5-year
Well,
option.
the
but they
next
have to
5-year
tell us-
option is they have to do it. They can't say we're gonna take it another 5 years and then we'll determine if we're gonna,
No,
they have to
it's gotta
start it in
be-
the next, like, we will build it in the next 5 years, or we're selling it in the next 5 years.
You're saying that with great confidence.
Yeah, you can't exercise to 2030 and say, now we're ready to do it. No, you have to commence the project within the last 5-year cycle or.
Right, but
Yeah.
if they don't exercise it, that means they have to sell it right away.
They could
They
start it
don't-
in 28 or they could start it in 26, but they have to start it in that 5-year period.
Or tell me if this is correct. Or in 28, they can decide they're going to sell it.
Something like
Within
that.
that
Yeah, we'd
5-year
have to,
option.
maybe dig a little deeper, but yeah, I guess they could say we intended to, but now we're just gonna step back from
Okay.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
they have to have a tangible progress towards putting that park in. Now, I can't speak 100% that it has to be completed, but I think they have to have substantial progress towards completing it.
That's
Like they
how
can't
I-
come on 2030 and be like, I think we're gonna start the archaeological study.
Yeah.
That's gonna probably take 2 years now. No, you gotta get that stuff.
What you're describing is
Yeah.
what my memory is of.
But I'll report back. So number 18 probably makes appropriate, but I need to get something to you relatively short order so you know what's coming.
Okay.
Then intercoastal waterways, would that become 19? Because we're still collecting data with the marine unit.
Yep.
Now that leaves like water tower lease options, improve wall waste and recycling rates, gas blower, and town complex expansion,
I
or
would take that one off,
which one?
town complex expansion.
Hmm.
It's,
Okay,
the reason I'm saying is it's outside of our
planning period.
window, yeah.
Okay.
It'll become another commission's issue.
Okay, so we got water tower lease, leaf blowers and waste and recycling rates.
I would put them in that sequence, just as you read it.
Well, okay, so that would become 20, 21, 22, and then 23. Okay, got it. Got it.
So just for clarification, the garbage and recycling contract solicitation is obviously different from improve recycling and waste reduction rates. Is this improve recycling and waste reduction rates?
That was on
more
our original list. We never really formally got to it, but do we want to look at increasing our recycling rates?
like getting the community to
Recycle more, divert more from the landfills, take those extra steps. Waste management doesn't really do anything on education anymore for us. We put some stuff on it, but how important is it? And do we want to make a bigger push to do it?
Well, I would assign it to the resources board if in fact we wanted to get behind it, but they're going to be focused on the dunes. So maybe we assign it to them as after you finish this, that's the next thing we want you to.
So
look
it's
at.
late on the list.
We
It'll probably
comfortable
just
with that?
continue to
Yeah,
get kicked a
but-
little bit.
Yeah, because they have to do some research because the latest thing that I've read is that it's not quite as easy as it used to be, that recycling a lot of the plastic can't be used for anything else.
I had read this.
And that there are towns that have stopped doing it completely because it became too expensive.
Also, I really don't want to take their eye off of the dunes.
Right, no,
It's a big, big subject.
absolutely. The dunes is way more important than that.
Okay.
I
So,
could share something on this because I just spoke with the Waste Management Authority of Palm Beach County and their transfer station in Delray. I didn't realize that when you throw a trash bag in the garbage, if it has metal, ceramics, glass, anything like that, it'll go in the incinerator and you would think, oh, okay, then it's gone, right? No, it then goes, the remains will go into grates where they, almost like a sifter, and sift out all the metal, all the ceramics, and they use the metal, clearly, they take all the others, and that becomes aggregate for pavement. And so it's not lost. So even if you throw glass away that's, got residue that contaminates it, it'll still go through the incinerated process.
Well, that is a diversion rate, correct? You're diverting it from burial, right?
Exactly, because you do want to prevent the landfill continuing to grow.
Right.
Most of it is burned up or it's packaged up and sold, and as in the case of cardboard, electronics, and what's the other one?
Paper,
No,
commingle.
cardboard, electronics, and metals, aluminum. Any type of aluminum is like high priority right now because that's what sells. So they package it up and they sell it. Got it.
whether or not we separate it in the garbage.
Correct, because metal, even if it's in the incinerator, they recover it.
Goes through the same process.
So. Are
Because
you,
everybody
like, should we
separates
strike this list,
different
this from the
bags.
list? I mean, is that what you're saying? I mean,
Priority as far as
It's not a priority.
so should we strike it from the list? I mean,
I'm okay with me
Okay, I'll strike it.
because
We got
the
enough. going on.
resources and board isn't gonna even get into it for another year or two,
right, this is not their focus, recycling,
and we don't want to focus on
Right.
it right now.
right?
Each is doing so. Okay, got it all?
I got it. I'll clean it up and bring it back.
You know,
Thank you very much.
move on to comments. We'll start with Mr. Stern.
None at this point.
Any comments?
About this.
About anything.
About anything.
We're done after the comments.
I wasn't.
Okay, time's up. Do you have? anything?
Yeah,
Anything you want to? No,
No,
no, we're
not that comes to mind.
okay. I thank you all for your patience. This is a bit of a challenge. I enjoyed the debate. Good. We'll see what it comes back as. Okay,
Excellent.
we're done. It is 2:54 and we will adjourn. Thank you.